Here in front of me, we've got two different e-bike conversion kits from two different brands. I've had this Varstrom e-bike conversion kit for the last 2 months or so. I've been using it for the last month now. I have had the Yose Power e-bike conversion kit for about close to a year and a half. I've actually installed this e-bike conversion kit 5 times, and I've actually got 3 of these kits still. So I still vouch that these Yose Power ones are excellent value for money. However, I was really curious to try and get my hands on a more powerful kit. The reason being is sometimes I wanted to carry heavy items in a trailer, and I found that the Yose Power was able to do the job, but it just felt like sometimes I wanted to have just a little bit extra power because we do live in a very hilly area. Now, the one that I settled on going to test out is this Varstrom one. So this is going to be a bit of a comparison to the Yose Power, but it's also going to be mainly a review. Another thing to note is that I actually bought this kit with my own money. So this is going to be a full, honest review on this kit. I was not sent this kit by Varstrom. And for a bit of context, I still ride my regular bike all the time, like for regular riding, for keeping fit. I still love regular bicycles. It's just that I know how practical a e-bike can be, especially if you don't have a driver's license. I wanted to talk to you about the pros and cons that I've found with owning this Varstrom so far. There are definitely things that you want to consider if you're thinking about getting one. The main thing for me was to try and get a kit that just gave me that little extra oomph in power. Even going from a 36 volt system to 48 volt, you're getting a more efficient and a more powerful system. So that really helps when you're carrying heavy loads if you're using a trailer. So let's just start off with the price. The price is one of the most tricky parts to dissect because it's sold at different prices in different parts of the world. I bought it during the 11/11 sale, which actually is a big deal on AliExpress. I will, however, leave some affiliate links down below in case you're interested in getting one of these kits yourself. You might find that it's actually going to be easier sometimes to get the kit via AliExpress or via their website. You're going to have to play around and see which link's going to work for you in your area where you are in the world. I bought the kit and the battery separately, and that came to around, I think it was on sale for $369 US. I got it for a very reasonable price. It's quite rare to get this level of motor and in this size battery for that price. Question is it worth the price, right? When it comes to the normal price, it's about $100 more. So I noticed that I looked it up recently and it's going for about $469 US. So prices are going to fluctuate a little bit. It's going to range anywhere between $350 to about $500 US. Yose Power are also selling their own version of the 48 volt kit. So honestly, you pick whichever works in your area. All I've got access to in this comparison is the 36 volt e-bike kit system from Yose Power and the conversion kit, which is the 48 volt from Varstrom. That was the one I could get access to where I am. But interestingly, prices are about the same between both brands, which is interesting to note. They're about the same depending on the sales and depending on where you are in the world. The actual name of this Varstrom kit is the Varstrom 125 XVH. What you'll notice for the AliExpress listing and possibly on the website is that there seems to be 2 different variants of the Varstrom 125 XVH. There seems to be a standard model and a higher performing model. I believe via my testing that I can confirm that I have the standard model. The only difference possibly between these 2 models might be the charge controller. But honestly, I can confirm that the standard model is still got plenty of power. If you're interested in the specification, I highly recommend go and have a look at the links down below where you can compare the specs. I also liked the fact that the e-bike display that comes with it, I believe it's the EKD01. It's a color display. It's got a lot more parameters that you can customize on the display. It tracks, obviously, the distance. So this kit, as of recording, it's done 280 kilometers. One feature that I'm really, really a big fan of with this display is that it actually shows your wattage that you're actually using in the moment. While you're in motion, it shows you how much wattage you're using so you can see which level is more effective and more efficient. I kind of wish it was a little bit larger and more prominent on the display, but you know, it's still pretty decent and you can just about read it at a glance. And you can get other displays. You don't have to go with the display I selected. I kind of like the fact this is a middle ground for having more parameters and more information on the display. You can get other displays that show you the same info, but on a larger display, but it costs a bit more. So this is kind of the middle ground if you want to have more parameters. I think overall, right off the bat, it is a good value for money, I have to say, but I did have some major things that I had to tackle with this e-bike conversion kit. What's interesting when comparing the Yosepower kit and the Varstrom kit is they're actually sitting on almost identical bikes. These bikes are from Decathlon. They are the Rock Rider ST520s, and they are almost identical. I bought them secondhand, and they are almost perfect for this conversion. I would say the hardtails are very strong and sturdy, and that is actually something you want with an e-bike. I definitely like the display. It's got more customizability. You can choose which battery you want to run with it, which is really nice. On the charge controller, I had to put it in a little bag, and it does have an XT60 plug on the battery connection. So you can just plug in a different battery if you want, which is really cool. You need to, if you change the voltage, you will need to change the voltage on the display. But if you want to have a different 48-volt battery, then you simply just take this one out, or you have a secondary one and you plug it in, which is really cool. So in terms of battery compatibility, that's a really nice feature about this Varstrom kit. It's also got a USB-C port, I believe, on the charging port on the display, which is kind of good for your phone. I can say that the motor is actually surprisingly quiet. I will say that when there's a lot of torque going on the system and you're going very slowly, you need to keep an eye on your axle. So definitely keep an eye on that. And I haven't needed to put any torque arms so far, but I will update this in the comments if that ever comes to be the case. I also left the really chunky mountain bike tires on because I wanted to have more grip. I would say that the battery is actually pretty decent. If you run it at a very high power level, you will drain the battery very fast if you want to ride around at that max speed that this kit can do. Personally, I don't do that. Don't need maximum power that this thing can give. What I want is efficiency, assistance when I'm on a very heavy section, especially if I'm pulling a trailer or any extra weight. And this motor can deliver that. It's definitely got that extra oomph. It's about 35 to 40% more powerful than the other Yosepower motor that I've got. Some of these are rebranded from the Tongshen stuff. So I believe the motor and the charge controller is from Tongshen anyhow, but Varstrom handle obviously the actual customer service and shipping it to your door, and they handle the marketing of the kit. So that's something to keep in mind. I would like to do a battery pack capacity test eventually on that 48-volt battery. It claims to be a 16 amp hour, 768 watt hours. Now, I think that if you run, like I said, on a very high power, you're going to drain it much faster. If you run it very low, let's say if you're sticking to around 25 kilometers an hour, wow, the efficiency that you get out of this motor is incredible. I use the levels to choose my speed because it's more efficient. Level 1, 2, 3, and sometimes 4, depending on how steep the terrain is. Level 1, 2, and 3 are actually plenty of power, plenty of speed. So you're definitely getting a more powerful system, which is really handy for when you're doing off-road stuff and also when you're wanting to carry heavy gear and heavy equipment. This is the main interest for me when you're using an e-bike, is you have that extra power and you want to use it for a reason. And for me, it's being able to carry my shopping. It's being able to carry all sorts of bizarre items in my trailer. Now, some of the things I would like to mention, which is definitely in the cons section, when it comes to the brakes that come with this system, I'm already used to the cable actuated brakes on the Yosepower system. They do the job, but I would say going for hydraulic is, when you are using a system from the Varstrom, is almost an absolute must with this kit. It's more powerful. It's naturally a heavier system as well. So when you're going downhill, you actually want it to have decent stopping performance. So this is why I personally bit the bullet and I went for a more robust, higher quality hydraulic brake system. Now, I tried to use secondhand hydraulic brakes. I could not get the magnet sensors to work very well. I think that they are not worth your time and money, in my opinion. They're really fiddly to set up. I managed to get it to work, but I then tried it with this kit and it didn't work very well. If you don't know what it is, it's basically to protect the motor being off when you're trying to press the brakes and it doesn't engage the motor at the same time if you're pedaling. This is why these brakes are really, really interesting and worth having a look at. They're from DYISLAND, that's the brand name on AliExpress, and they have the magnet sensor literally built into the design. So you can adjust it. You can adjust the spacing depending on your lever pull. You can also choose the lever pull. And honestly, for the money and for the less of the headache of using a kit like this, I highly recommend getting a hydraulic brake system like this, which have the magnet sensors built into them. It came with a little light. I should probably mention that. That's kind of neat. The light is not a gimmick and it actually works really, really well. However, it didn't come with the rear light in the kit. Now, when it comes to the regulator for your speed, I would say that the one that comes with it is not great. It gets stuck a lot, which is not great. The nice thing with the e-bike kits is that you can unplug stuff and you can use other parts depending on if it works with Bafang or if it works with Tongshan. You need to just double check that and make sure that the pins are the right ones. I think a lot of people buying e-bike conversion kits might be kind of already used to online. However, when you are buying an e-bike conversion kit, this didn't happen with Yosepower, I want to mention. When the kit arrived from Yosepower, I can say that the tension on all of the spokes on the rear wheel were absolutely fantastic, very high tension, the kind of tension you would expect for the rear wheel. Now, when it came to the rear wheel for the Varstrom, I tried to take it down to a bike shop and have it adjust so that it would have a proper tension to them. They needed a little bit more tensioning to them, and it's something I will keep an eye on as time goes on. Once that was modified, I noticed that the wheel was actually a little bit straighter as well. Now, personally, I'm not looking for perfection with this because it's a $300 kit from China. So don't look for perfection out of a kit like this, but I'm just saying that it's something you want to keep in mind. In terms of waterproofing, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say it's probably about a 6.5 in terms of waterproofing. And let's say if we compare that to the Yosepower, it's probably closer to about a 7.5 or maybe a 7.8 or 9, something like that. I would say the Yosepower one is a little bit more waterproof than the Varstrom one, mainly because of that charge controller. I can't comment right now on the battery range because it's early days with this, but I would say that it's pretty decent. But honestly, I think both of these kits are excellent value. Like if you want to compare these e-bike conversion kits, whether it's from Yosepower or from Varstrom, when you compare them to the pre-made e-bikes, so the ones that actually have all of the electronics all built into the frame and everything, I think the value of performance that you get out of an e-bike conversion kit is far better if we're talking about value for money. If you want to save time, I do think that you will save more time by going with the Yosepower one because I thought the manual for the building and putting the bike together was a lot more clearer and simpler with the Yosepower. Luckily, I had prior experience to installing e-bike kits. I would say that the Yosepower is probably aimed more at beginners, and then the Varstrom is definitely entering into the intermediate phase of e-bike conversion building. I definitely would like to answer your comments down in the comment section below if you have any questions. I definitely recommend having a look at the other videos I've done on the Yosepower kit. Like and subscribe, have a look at those links below. Stay tuned for maybe part 2 later on in the year, and I hope to see you in another video.